donated her last dollar to a street musician, not knowing he was a famous producer searching for talent. It was 6:42 a.m. when Emma's alarm rang for the third time, the same broken jingle buzzing from her chipped phone screen, half cracked and held together by clear tape. She didn't reach for it, not right away. The room was quiet, but not peaceful. Cold, lifeless. A single shaft of morning light leaked through the corner of a drawn curtain, casting long shadows across a mattress laid directly on the hardwood floor. No bed frame, no table. Just her, a pillow gone flat, and 2 second-hand wool blankets she got from the shelter last winter. Her eyes fluttered open, slow and hesitant, as if waking up meant returning to the weight of everything she was trying to forget. The silence wasn't just stillness, it was loneliness, shaped into sound. She sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. The air stung a little. She hadn't turned the heater on all week. Couldn't afford the bill. Across the room, the fridge made a low humming noise like it was mocking her. She walked to it barefoot, opened the door, and stared blankly. 1 half-empty bottle of expired milk, a wilted head of lettuce, an old sauce packet from a diner. No eggs, no bread, not even coffee. She sighed and closed it, her hand lingering on the handle a second longer than needed, as if it would magically fill itself if she just waited. Her phone buzzed with a new email. She didn't even need to open it. Another rejection. Dear Miss Moore, thank you for your interest. Unfortunately, she let the phone fall face down on the counter. She wrapped a scarf around her neck, thin from too many winters of wear, and stepped outside into the city's noise. The world moved fast, but no one seemed to see her. She was just another girl with tired eyes, walking past cafes she couldn't enter, and people she couldn't relate to anymore. As she passed the bakery, the scent of fresh bread almost brought her to tears. Not because she was hungry, though she was, but because it reminded her of Sunday mornings with her mom back when life was warm and soft and full of music. Emma pulled her coat tighter. Her fingers were red from the cold. She reached into her bag and pulled out her wallet, almost afraid to look. Inside, 1 lonely dollar. A single, worn, crumpled bill. She stared at it like it was the last thread keeping her stitched to the world. Rent was due. The landlord's voice still echoed in her head from the night before. I can't give you any more time, Emma. I'm sorry. She clutched the dollar tighter. Was it stupid to still believe something good could happen? That night, she walked back home slowly, pausing to sit on a wooden bench near an alleyway. She looked up at the sky, dull and cloudy, no stars to wish on. She pulled out her phone and played a voice memo, just her singing, soft, breathy, emotional. A lullaby she once sang for her mother while holding her hand in the hospital bed. Her voice trembled, but she kept listening, because it was all she had left of herself. I'm still here, she whispered to the air, tears welling. And the city, too loud to care, just kept moving. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when Emma saw him. She'd just left the community kitchen, a paper cup of lukewarm tea warming her fingers, her stomach barely full from thin soup and half a slice of donated bread. The sky was gray again, the kind of gray that seemed to press down on your shoulders, heavy and unrelenting. She was walking past the corner of 8th and Linden, a spot most people hurried past, especially in colder weather when the sound stopped her. A guitar. Soft, smooth, haunting. She turned toward the alley. There, sitting on an overturned milk crate, was a man maybe mid-40s, unshaven, with longish, salt and pepper hair tucked under a knit beanie. His clothes were layered and worn, but clean. A battered guitar rested in his lap, his fingers gliding over the strings like they were alive, telling the story too old for words. No sign, no open guitar case, no begging, just music. Emma froze. The melody, it wasn't a typical street performance. It had depth, a kind of sadness she recognized. It wrapped around her heart and squeezed. The way he played, it was like he was reaching for something he'd lost a long time ago. Like she was. She didn't realize her feet had stopped moving. Didn't realize she was holding her breath. The man didn't look up, didn't speak, just kept playing. A blues progression that melted into something classical, then jazz, then back into something purely emotional. It didn't matter the genre. It was beautiful, alive. Emma looked down into her palm. The same single dollar she'd been holding all day. She told herself she'd use it for bread, for tea, for anything to help her feel okay. She looked back at the man. Something told her he didn't need the money. But something else whispered. Maybe she needed to give it. Her steps were slow, careful. The wind picked up, rustling her coat and scattering leaves in tiny whirlwinds across the pavement. The man didn't flinch. He was in his own world. Emma reached out, placed the crumpled bill gently near his foot. She didn't want to interrupt the music, didn't want to break the spell. But he stopped. Fingers paused on the strings. He looked up. Their eyes met. His gaze wasn't cold or surprised or even thankful in the way someone desperate might be. It was curious, warm, penetrating. Like he'd been waiting for someone, and somehow she was the one who showed up. "You didn't have to do that," he said, voice deep and gravelly. "You look like you need it more than I do." Emma didn't know what to say. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. He smiled softly, not unkindly. "You have a musician's soul," he said. Emma blinked. "What?" "I can always tell. You hear the music, not just the sound." He strummed a soft chord. "You've written songs, haven't you?" Her heart skipped. "Yes," she whispered, unsure how he could know. "Sing one." She froze. "What?" "Sing something, right here, right now." I can't." "You can." She looked around. There was no one else on the street. Just her, this strange man, and the endless gray sky. Her hands trembled slightly. Her mouth was dry, but something inside her stirred. Maybe it was the way he looked at her. Not like a nobody. Not like someone broken or struggling, but like someone who still had something worth hearing. She closed her eyes, and she sang. Just a few lines. A soft, raw verse from the lullaby she'd written. Her voice cracked halfway through, but she didn't stop. When she opened her eyes again, he was just watching her. Quiet, serious. Then he nodded. "Beautiful," he said. "Rough but honest. That's the good kind." Emma felt something shift in her chest, like a window cracked open after years of being sealed shut. "Thank you," she murmured. He held out a card. Simple, white, no big logos, just a name. Julian Ray, producer. Her hand shook as she took it. "I don't normally say this," he said, standing and slinging the guitar over his shoulder. "But you should come to the studio tomorrow, noon. We'll see if there's more where that came from." He turned to leave. Emma stood frozen in place, staring at the card like it was made of gold. She looked down at her hand. The dollar was gone. But somehow she felt richer than she had in years. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling like it might give her answers. The white business card rested on her chest, the only clean thing in the entire apartment. She had read his name over a dozen times. Julian Ray. The name meant nothing to her. Not really. She hadn't followed music news in years. She couldn't afford to. Her world had narrowed to just surviving bills, job hunts, secondhand everything. But the way he played, the way he heard her, that meant something. Still, Her stomach twisted with doubt. What if it was a joke? What if he just felt sorry for her? Or worse, what if she went and proved to herself she wasn't good enough? By 3 a.m., Emma was sitting cross-legged on the floor, her old headphones pressed to her ears, voice memos playing one by one. Some were full songs, rough recordings she'd made in better years. Some were just whispers of melodies, fragments of pain turned into sound notes, recorded in the silence after heartbreak, after rejection, after her mother passed away. She'd written music to survive, not for fame, not for recognition. But now, for the first time in a long time, she wondered if that music could do more than just carry her pain. Maybe it could carry her forward. By morning, the city was already awake. Cabs honked, trains roared in the distance, and the streets buzzed with people rushing toward somewhere. Emma stood in front of the mirror, the same cracked one she'd taped to the back of the closet door. Her reflection stared back, uncertain. She had no makeup, no polished look, just a clean black sweater and jeans that had faded around the knees. She pulled her hair back into a low bun, simple, presentable. Her hands trembled as she picked up the card one last time and slid it into her coat pocket. It was 11:07 a.m. She had 53 minutes to change her life or walk away from the only chance she might ever get. The subway ride was quiet. She stood the whole time, gripping the silver pole tightly, her heart thudding loud enough she could almost hear it over the rumble of the train. What would she say when she got there? What if the studio didn't exist? What if he didn't show up? What if this whole thing was some kind of twisted test the universe liked to play on people like her people, who kept hoping even when hope made no sense? She stepped off at Grand Avenue and followed the directions exactly. 3 blocks up, turn left at the cafe, look for a red door between the florist and the bookstore. And there it was, faded paint, brass handle, no sign. Her breath caught in her throat. This was it. She reached for the handle and pulled her hand back. Froze. Every part of her wanted to run. Every doubt rose up again like a wave crashing over her resolve. But then, she remembered her mother's voice, faint, gentle, from years ago. You have something special, Em. One day someone will hear it. Don't let fear keep you quiet. Emma blinked fast, fighting back the tears. Then one step forward, and she knocked. The door opened almost immediately. A young woman in a flannel shirt looked her up and down. You, Emma? She nodded, heart hammering. Julian's waiting for you. No time to second guess. Emma stepped inside. The hallway smelled of old wood and coffee. Posters lined the walls, platinum records, signed photos of artists she vaguely recognized, even one of a Grammy on a dusty shelf. And at the end of the corridor, behind a glass door, stood Julian. Same beanie, same calm, unreadable expression. He looked up. Glad you came, he said, like he knew she would. Emma stepped through the door, her entire life behind her, a different life ahead. The studio smelled of dust and cables and something warm, maybe cinnamon, maybe coffee. Emma couldn't tell. She was too busy watching the door close behind her, sealing her into a different world. Julian stood by a soundboard, head tilted, eyes sharp but not unkind. This is your moment, he said gently, gesturing to the glass-walled vocal booth. You don't have to impress me. Just tell me the truth through the song. Emma swallowed hard. That scared her more than anything. The vocal booth was small, too quiet. The mic hovered in front of her like a spotlight she couldn't escape. A tangle of headphones and on the stand, wires coiled like nerves. She slipped them on. Her breath echoed in her ears. Julian's voice came through. What song are you thinking? Emma blinked. She hadn't really thought that far ahead. Her fingers tapped unconsciously on the music stand until muscle memory found a chord, a simple melody she'd written the night her mom had been taken to the hospital. "I'll do something original," she said quietly. "All right, we're rolling." The red light blinked on, and silence. It stretched, unforgiving, exposed. Emma could hear her own breath trembling. The weight of the moment pressed down on her chest. Her lips parted and nothing came out. Then something shifted. She thought of the freezing street, the ache in her stomach that night. She gave away her last dollar. The look in Julian's eyes, her mom's voice, the things she never said, the days she cried in the bathroom so no one would hear, the hope she kept quiet for so long. She closed her eyes, and she sang. It wasn't polished. Her voice cracked halfway through the first verse. But she didn't stop. It was raw, messy, honest. Each lyric fell like a piece of her heart landing on the floor, one after another. She wasn't trying to sound good, she was just trying to survive the memory behind every note. There were no backup vocals, no instruments, just her voice, trembling and fierce, breaking in all the right places. When she finished the last note, she stood there, eyes still closed, chest rising, heart wide open. Silence followed. Not the awkward kind, the sacred kind. Julian didn't speak for several seconds. Emma opened her eyes, hand shaking. Through the glass, he sat forward slowly, pressing a button on the board. "Play that back," he said to his assistant, voice lower than before. The room filled with Emma's voice again, this time through the studio monitors. She hated hearing herself. Every singer does. But this was different. She could hear things she hadn't noticed before, strength in her pain, clarity in her hesitation. The assistant looked impressed. She didn't say anything, just nodded once, like even she felt it. Julian stood and walked into the booth. He didn't say much at first, just looked at her with a softness that hadn't been there before. "I wasn't perfect," he said finally, "but it was real." Emma's eyes welled up, her throat tightened. "I don't have training," she whispered. I'm not—" "Stop," he said, holding up a hand. "Don't ever apologize for the truth. That's all people want. That's all I look for." She blinked hard, tears spilling over. "So, does this mean—" He nodded. "I want to record with you. Something real. Something you've written. No frills, just you." Emma couldn't breathe. "I can't pay—" "I didn't ask you to," he said, voice firm but kind. "Let's make music. The rest will follow." It didn't feel real. Her feet wobbled beneath her as she stepped out of the booth. But in her chest, a spark, small, fragile, but burning. Someone believed in her. And for the first time in years, maybe she did too. The studio became Emma's lifeline over the next week, a refuge from the cold apartment and endless rejections. She arrived daily at noon, her cracked phone now holding Julian's texts. "Bring your notebook," or "Try that chord again." The red door on Grand Avenue wasn't just an entrance anymore. It was a threshold. Inside, Julian waited, beanie on, guitar nearby, his gravelly voice guiding her through melodies she'd buried too long. Port Lyra's gray skies faded behind those walls. The music was her son. They started small, her lullaby, rough edges smoothed. Julian sat at the soundboard, tweaking knobs, his focus intense but patient. "Lower here," he'd say, tapping a beat. "Let it breathe." Emma sang, voice shaky at first, but stronger each take. He didn't push, just listened, nodded like he heard more than notes. One afternoon, she caught him staring, not at her, but through her. "What?" she asked midline. He blinked, soft. "You sound like someone who's fought to be heard." Her chest tightened. She hadn't told him much, but he knew. Days blurred, coffee cups piled, lyrics scratched on napkins. Emma opened up, slow. "This one's from when Mom got sick," she said, handing him a page. Julian read, quiet, then played a chord, low, mournful. "Like this?" he asked. She nodded, tears pricking. He didn't ask more, just built the song with her, his fingers weaving her pain into sound. She saw his scars, too. His hands trembled sometimes. A bottle of pills peeked from his bag. "Old injury," he shrugged once, brushing it off, but his eyes said more, lost like hers. One night, after a long session, they sat on the studio floor, her with tea, him with whiskey. "Why me?" she asked, voice small. "You could have walked past." Julian swirled his glass. "Saw myself in you, hungry, broke, playing for nobody. Someone gave me a shot once. I guess I'm paying it back." She frowned. "You don't seem broke." He laughed dry. "Not now. Took years, lost more than I kept." He didn't elaborate, but the silence spoke. Wives, friends, maybe dreams. Emma traced the cup's rim. "I've got nothing to lose." "That's why you'll make it," he said, firm. "You sing like it's all you've got because it is." She looked at him, gruff, worn, but steady. A mentor? A mirror? Both. Next day, he handed her a key. "Studio's yours when I'm not here. Right." She took it, trembling. Not just a key, but trust. That night alone, she sang, louder, freer, healing through every note. Julian's faith stitching her back together. Port Lyra's autumn deepened. Leaves skittering past the red door as Emma pushed through, her notebook clutched tight. 3 weeks with Julian, her voice stronger, her hands steadier. Today they'd finish her first full song, not a fragment, but whole. The studio hummed, Julian at the board, assistant Mia tweaking mics. "Ready?" he asked, gravelly but warm. Emma nodded, stepping into the booth, headphones on. The red light blinked, her cue. She sang, a piece born from sleepless nights titled Fading Light. Lyrics of her mom's hospital bed, her own cracked phone, woven with a melody Julian had shaped soft guitar, a heartbeat drum. Her voice broke once, raw, but she pushed through, eyes shut. When the last note faded, silence held. Then Julian's voice crackled through. "That's it, Emma. That's the one." She opened her eyes, breathless. Mia grinned. Julian leaned back, satisfied. They played it back. Her voice filled the room, haunting, alive. Emma flinched at first, hearing every flaw, but Julian caught her eye. "Stop judging. Listen." She did. Heard the pain, yes, but strength too. Mia burned it to a disc. Fading Light, Emma Moore. "Send it to a few folks," Julian said, casual. "Folks?" Emma asked. Radio, labels, small stuff." Her stomach flipped. Her song out there? Days later, she sat on her mattress, tea cold, when her phone buzzed. Julian. "Check local FM now." She scrambled and found a staticky station, then froze. Her voice spilled from the speaker. "Fading Light on air." A DJ chimed in. "New talent, Emma Moore. Keep an eye out." Tears hit before she could stop them. Someone heard her. Julian called. "First step," he said. "More's coming." She laughed, shaky, her breakthrough, small but hers. That night she wrote, feverish, free, new songs pouring out. The dollar was gone, but the spark burned bright. Port Lyra's gray felt lighter. She wasn't invisible anymore. Winter crept into Port Lyra, frost glazing the studio's windows as Emma's world shifted. Fading light spread. Local radio to online buzz, whispers of that voice. Julian grinned one morning, tossing her a flyer. Open mic night, the Blue Haven, Saturday. "You're on," he said. "Real crowd, real stage." Emma's heart sank. Singing alone was one thing. A room of eyes was another. "I can't," she stammered. "You will," he countered, firm. You've got this." Saturday came fast. The Blue Haven glowed. Dim lights, packed tables, a stage barely raised. Emma stood backstage, palms sweaty, in her faded jeans and a borrowed scarf. Julian tuned his guitar nearby. She'd begged him to play with her. "Just this once," he'd said, relenting. The host called her Emma Moore, and her legs wobbled. Julian nudged her. "Breathe. Sing the truth." She stepped up, mic trembling, crowd a blur. She started soft, fading light. Julian's chord steadying her. Her voice quavered, then grew, raw, piercing. Faces sharpened, strangers leaning in, quiet. She forgot the lights, the nerves, just sang. When it ended, applause erupted, loud, real. She blinked. Julian nodded, proud. A second song, new cracked glass, spilled out bolder. The room roared, her spotlight earned. After, people pressed close. "Where'd you come from?" "More soon?" A woman in a sleek coat handed her a card. "Talia Voss, indie label." "Call me," she said, gone quick. Emma clutched it, dazed. Julian pulled her aside. "Told you, more's coming." But his eyes flickered, tired, distant. She didn't notice, high on the glow. Port Lyra saw her now. Next day, Talia called. Studio time, a demo deal. Emma ran to Julian, beaming. "We did it." He smiled, faint. "You did." The spotlight blazed, her voice echoing louder, but shadows loomed unseen. Port Lyra's spring bloomed, cherry blossoms dusting Grand Avenue as Emma's demo took shape. Talia's studio was sleek. Glass booths, a polished gear, but Julian stayed her anchor, guiding every note. Cracked glass hit local charts. Her name buzzed louder, gigs piled up. She'd moved, rent paid, a real bed now, but something gnawed. Julian grew quieter, hands shakier, whiskey more frequent. One night, mid-session, he dropped his pick, wincing. "You okay?" Emma asked. "Fine," he snapped, sharp, then softened. "Just tired." She pushed. Fading light remastered. Gigs booked, but Julian lagged. One afternoon, she found him outside, staring at the sea, pills in hand. "What's this?" she asked, her voice tight. He sighed, heavy. "Cancer. Late stage. Didn't want you worrying." Her world cracked, her rock crumbling. "Why didn't you tell me?" "You needed to fly," he said, eyes wet. "Not carry me." Anger flared. She'd trusted him, leaned on him. "You don't get to decide that." He looked away. "Lost my wife to it years ago. Didn't fight then. Won't now." Emma reeled. His scars matched hers, deeper. She saw the man on the crate again, playing for ghosts. "You saved me," she said, trembling. "Let me save you." He shook his head. "You already did. Gave me purpose." Next day, she sang. Hold the Line. New for him. Raw, defiant. He listened, tears falling, then left. Need time. Days passed. No texts. Studio empty. Talia pushed. "Tour's set, Emma. Focus." But Emma faltered. Her rise, his fall, colliding. She stood at his alley spot, guitar silent, reckoning her cost. Music healed her, but could it heal him? Port Lyra's summer flared, heat shimmering as Emma stepped onto her first tour stage, hundreds watching, her name in lights. A year since that dollar, fading light hit. Cracked glass gold. Talia beamed backstage. "You're it, kid." But Emma's eyes searched. Julian wasn't there. He'd faded, texts rare, hospital stays longer. She'd begged him, "Fight, please." He'd smiled, weak. "You're my fight." Last week he'd slipped away, peaceful, she hoped. Her lullaby on repeat beside him. She sang that night. Hold the Line, voice breaking, crowd hushed. It wasn't perfect, but it was true, his legacy in every note. Backstage, she clutched his beanie, found in the studio his parting gift. A letter, too. "Emma, you gave me back music. Keep it alive." Tears fell. She had, but at what cost? Port Lyra's streets held him. The alley, the red door, ghosts of their bond. Years later, Emma stood at the Grammys, Best New Artist, her mom's lullaby remade, a tribute to them both. She spoke for Julian Ray, who heard me when I couldn't hear myself. The crowd roared. She smiled bittersweet. Back home, kids sang her songs, her voice a lighthouse for the lost. She'd risen, scarred whole, his legacy, her light, forever entwined. Thanks for riding Emma's journey with Timelens Stories, from a single dollar to a legacy of light. If her voice moved you, hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this tale with your squad. More soul-stirring stories are coming. Stay tuned to Timelens for the magic.